Oh boy, it's that time of year again! Jingle bells are ringing, mince pie crumbs are all over the office, and we're procrastinating doing our festive shopping by making videos. Forget Christmas, it's PlayStation Access's Game of the Year 2023. Everyone's favourite holiday. Whilst every year we say it's been a big year for games, that's especially true for 2023. So enjoy an early Prezi with our breakdown of the very best. First up, it's Rob. And to keep the Christmas comparisons going, let's call this game Webnog.
There have been many fantastic games that have come out in 2023, and my Game of the Year has changed about 4 times this year. Each time I was convinced this will be my Game of the Year. The first game that was my Game of the Year was Octopath Traveler 2, then it was Final Fantasy XVI, then it was Sea of Stars, all of which are games I have immensely enjoyed this year. But my actual Game of the Year is Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Woo! Which, for me to not pick a JRPG in a year of incredible JRPGs, I think is testament to what an absolutely incredible game Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is. It absolutely blew all of my expectations away. Got the platinum. Platinum trophy.
Yeah. Have you guys got the platinum?
Yeah.
No.
I was hoping that we'd all be like, yeah, we've all got the platinum.
It is one of the most fun platinum trophies I've ever earned. I won't talk about any spoilers because I know there are likely going to be some people watching this who have not finished the game yet, Dave included. And there are some incredible story moments, amazing surprises. For me, as someone who I'm not an expert on the wider Spider-Man lore, like I'm not like a comic book reader or anything like that. I have like a casual knowledge of Spider-Man. I enjoyed it like a huge amount. I imagine for people who really are into the comics and all of that stuff, there are going to be some surprises and little revelations in Marvel Spider-Man 2 that are just going to absolutely blow you away if you haven't experienced it yet. But aside from all of the story stuff and all of that kind of stuff, just the technical achievement of it, I just was constantly in awe of what that game was doing. The city is just so well realised, so impeccably built, and the fact that you can be swinging through it and web-winging through it at ridiculous speeds, and it all just holds together all the time. It never looks anything less than extraordinary, and you can climb the tallest building, dive off the street rushing towards you, you can like web wing through wind tunnels, soar out across the bridges into those new areas you've got in Brooklyn and Queens. It just looks astonishing the whole time, and how it effortlessly transitions from that into there's some crime happening down there, as you're like, and you just immediately web strike down into just, and I honestly don't know how Insomniac have done it, where like you can press the finisher button, which is triangle and circle, and
thanks, Rob.
You're welcome. A tip from someone who's platinumed the game there. And you'll just unleash these amazing finishing moves. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be on the ground, in the air, like any situation. Spider-Man will just somehow beautifully, smoothly transition out of whatever attack he was doing and just do this ludicrous finisher. And there's so many of them, and the animation on them is so amazing. Like, you're constantly just, oh, wow, yes! And like the way the combat is all just linked together. You unlock all of the moves that Miles and Peter can do. The roster of moves you get is just so satisfying to pull them off. Like, you can just be in the air for ages, stringing together these outrageous combos. And then when a joint finisher happens, if you're in a fight and the other Spider-Man happens to be in the fight at the same time, occasionally a joint finisher will happen. And my favourite one is where, if you're playing as Peter, Miles will sort of swing past in slow motion, kicking another guy and do like, just like a little finger guns to the camera. It's just so satisfying. Like, it's so warmly written. It's just such a joyous game, despite having some dark narrative moments in it. But like the whole time you're playing it, I just had like just an enormous grin on my face. Just a completely beautifully crafted experience, full of incredible Easter eggs and Yeah, and I couldn't get enough of it. What an amazing, amazing game.
And Spider-Man the cat features. Yay!
How long have you been holding that in? You were waiting for Rob to wrap up. And very importantly.
Oh my goodness, that Miles Morales' suit with Spider-Man the cat in the back is in this. It's just amazing.
And there are some very cool suits in the game.
Yeah.
My favourite is Noir Spider-Man.
Oh, it's so good.
From the Into the Spider-Verse movie. So Nick Cage's character, just that when it's nighttime and you're swinging around wearing that, you're almost doing like a Raymond Chandler-esque monologue in your head. It's very cool. I'm not going to do it now.
Oh, go on. A little taster.
No.
I like the comparison between our two gameplay where you're like, I'm a noir spider, and I'm there going, oh, look at the
I've got
little
a
cat
cat
swinging around.
in my bag. Yeah.
As you all remember from last year, my game of the year was Marvel's Midnight Suns, which came out, I think, like a week or two before I was making my game of the year announcement that we all look forward to. And I was absolutely 100% right about that. That was an amazing game of the year 2022. 2023, I am doing something similar by announcing my game of the year. It's been out for, I don't know, some weeks, maybe a month. It is Teardown, a game which has just completely blown me away. It's been on my radar for a very long time because I first came across it on Twitter when it was Twitter, and the developer Dennis Gustafsson, I believe is his name, he just appeared on my timeline and he just had these little kind of gameplay videos. He was a developer and he had created this voxel destruction engine, which sounds really cool now I say it. And as you guys know, I am very much mechanics first, story second when it comes to games. Like, those are the things I love. And I was just watching his little clips of this thinking, please turn this into a game. And in 2023, my dream came through with Teardown, which is the culmination of all that effort in a game which is almost purely mechanics. I love it so much. It's effectively a game where there is a story. You are the owner of a failing kind of demolition company who, in order to make ends meet, takes on some more nefarious tasks. What that turns into is basically these little sandbox missions where you're trying to maybe steal a car or some paintings, or you get into this kind of inter-business rivalry, so sometimes you're just going and smashing up someone else's business.
Wait, really? That's a bit mean.
It's very, I told you at the time, Rosie, when we streamed it,
yeah,
it's
when
nefarious.
we streamed it, I mean, we were already stealing cars, but now you're destroying other people's businesses.
Yeah,
this game is filled with surprises.
I know, but you got to make ends meet, you know. And also, these people are like billionaires. They're fine. They're
fine.
really fine. Like, you look at these pads. They're like
Dave's eat the rich mantra coming through here.
they're not. There's nothing.
I thought this
to
was
worry
a game about destroying physical things like walls and the floor.
Ah.
I didn't know that the destruction extended to
Jobs.
physical things
Yes.
like businesses.
Reputations. I'm ruining my reputation right now. The thing is, I think what I love about it is that there are so many different ways to play. It is effectively little sandboxes. You were given a few tools to begin with, just very few. You have like a little sledgehammer, which you can use unlimited amounts, but it only works on some materials. And as you progress, you unlock these bigger and better tools. But as you learn about the game and you unlock these new tools, your kind of whole worldview begins to expand. And I love so much just thinking and solving, and like, it's not enough now for me to complete a mission. It's how can I complete that better? How can I do that better? The game is built around this. These are little sandboxes, as I say. There's so much replayability where you can complete a mission and move on, but especially when you get a new tool. I've been getting new tools and thinking, oh my god, the cable, that will be really useful for the safes in the earlier mission, which I only did with like a second to spare. But if I use the cables now, I reckon I could hook them up to the JCB. Oh, I mean, like, this is Teardown. This is what it is for me. I love that it makes you explore and look around the map. When I first get onto a map, the first thing I do is go and visit each of my objectives and just look at them and think like, oh, I wonder if there's a clever way to do this, and see like, oh, there's this car over here. I wonder if I could use that. I love that. It's all about the planning and then bringing it all together in those like 2 minutes or 1 minute of action and tying it all up. And if I've planned well enough, the first time will be the only time. I usually haven't planned well enough, but like it's happened occasionally, and it feels so good to think like I thought about all of this, and I knew, you know, just going into your mind palace or mind place and looking ahead and foreseeing the series of events and then making that happen is just very, very appealing to me. So
I like when it shows you the route you've done as well to complete it.
That too.
Like,
yeah.
that's really cool.
That is really cool. That's a really nice touch. And there's just loads of little nice touches in it. I think it's quite a funny game, and I feel like I feel like I've just barely scratched the surface, and already it is Game of the Year.
I think it's going to be quite clear what my Game of the Year is, but I'm going to have a couple of honourable mentions. First of all, Lies of P. I had a fantastic time with Lies of P and I loved it to pieces. And then also, because I finished the story of this game last night and it had me in absolute tears because it was so fantastic. But Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, which is easily the longest title we've had this year. But just wanted to slide those two in there because my real Game of the Year for 2023 is... Say it with me. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Yeah, remake. Yeah, remake. Yes, what a fantastic game this is. What a fantastic time it was. I mean, what a way to do a remake again. There's been so many fantastic remakes, especially like as someone who I'm a big enthusiast for games from the past, of the PS1, PS2 era and things like that. And Resident Evil 4 is famously one of the best games ever. Like, genuinely, it's always like high up ranking and one of the best action games. Some people say like horror game and stuff as well, but either way, it's in the big leagues of video games. So to have the task of remaking this game is a big heavy task from Capcom, and they smashed it. They kept like true to the original game whilst also making it updated, a bit more refreshed, and they had the perfect balance because like that's the thing with the original Resident Evil 4, it's so good and there are so many fans of the game who are just like, you know, leave it. Like, it's already perfect enough as it is, but everyone has always just been like, what a fantastic game. It feels fantastic. It's quick and like the combat's fast paced and all the different things you can do, like shoot them in the knee, they go down, and then that's when you can either, well, I mean, it's a bit graphic, but stab them, kick them, do all these fun combos. You can plan things around them, your different weapons you've got, and also the little details the game puts in for fans and just players in general to find afterwards, like shooting the bell when it's a bit too early and then it just stops the whole village encounter. When I was playing it and I was doing my multiple runs, you know, trying to go for the platinum, I just had the infinite rocket launcher and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a bit of fun. Let's see if I can destroy this boulder wall that you need dynamite for, out of curiosity. So I tried it and it works, and literally you can skip a whole section with chainsaws and everyone just in the mind. It's as if Capcom knew that people were going to be playing around with all these things, trying things out, and also just for the replayability, because with the Resident Evil remake games, I love replaying them and trying out different things and doing different challenges for different trophies, and Resident Evil 4 was no different. I loved going through it again and again and again, learning the techniques that I'm going to use at certain points, knowing what guns I'm going to use at specific times, and when things were a bad run and you're like, no, that was a bad run, I'm going to do that again. But it never got repetitive, never got tedious or anything like that. And the characters as well are just fantastic, so much fun. The Merchant as well, I love him to pieces, and the Merchant is again one of the most iconic characters in video games, and I think this Merchant as well is just as fantastic. I loved him to pieces, and every time I went to his shop I was so happy. And also the game looks stunning. It looks absolutely beautiful. I think it was specifically in, I want to say, is it chapter 3 or chapter 4, but it's just before you go onto the lake and there's a beautiful sunset happening, and I remember seeing that and I was like, oh my god, this is gorgeous, the pink sky, the purple clouds, and you're going into the lake, although the lake isn't as pretty because there's a big monster fish in there, but that's all fine because you're still in this beautiful environment, and it looks wet just like everything in the RE engine does. Everything looks so wet and gory and like beautifully wet. And and honestly, it's
Game of the Year.
Game of the Year, it's beautifully wet. And it's just so fantastic. I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface as well. Ashley as well, like...
You're welcome.
She's, she is. Ashley is a great addition to the game as well. She's got more fight in her. She's being more independent and awesome. There are loads of references to fans as well. There's a moment when Ashley opens the door and she's like, you could basically say I'm a master of unlocking. And fully, for me who grew up with Resident Evil 1, I'm like, oh, she's in the line! I know that line! So loads of things like that. And also, spoilers if you haven't finished Resident Evil 4 Remake, but we've seen Albert Wesker's remake model! He has a remake model! What could this mean? I'm so excited to see, probably the main antagonist of the Resident Evil series in this new RE engine, because he's not in Resident Evil 2, he's not in Resident Evil 3, but here he is in Resi 4 and you see him and I was so excited to see him there. But yeah, what a fantastic time. I played it for months after it came out and you can't fault a game for being an absolutely fantastic time.
My game of the year is certainly a game, but I have more things I need to say before I get to it. So everybody buckle up because I need to do my honourable mentions. Right, and the first one is Dredge. I love Dredge and I will champion it forever. And I called it as my game of the year earlier in the year, but there are other games that have come out that have stolen my heart, unfortunately. So it's my honourable mention.
The poor fish!
I know. My game of the year was tied between two games. I've decided to go for the one that I've got more time in, basically, as my one. And the one that sadly lost out to the 150 hours I put into it is Alan Wake 2, which is a real, that kind of hurts me inside to not say it's my game of the year.
Alan.
I know, it's absolutely tied for me, but I know we need to make a call in these videos, so I have, which is Baldur's Gate 3.
Hey, there it is!
I got there! It's, oh my god, but could it not be Baldur's Gate 3? No, it's just perfect. I think I put a lot on loving horror and covering horror, but my childhood was fantasy games. It was always RPGs, it was playing board games with my dad, it was messing around doing goofy stuff with dragons and golden elves. And to be able to jump into the world of Dungeons and Dragons in Baldur's Gate 3 and have it so deftly realised in a way that a big tabletop nerd can appreciate, so just straight away, it opened a whole new world to me. I was just like, wow, oh my god, this is all my childhood brought up to date in this 18 plus game where everybody's naked and stabbing each other. That's the things I like. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, I just think the way that the story is crafted and how it is so up to you, narrative adventures where you pick your own path through, are always just amazing when they work out and you can have different endings. And Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of the pinnacle of that, where it is so much about role-playing and making a decision. Do you want to be evil? Do you want to be good? Do you want to sit somewhere in the middle? Do you want to be a hero? Do you want to be an anti-hero? Do you want to kick a squirrel in the face? Those are all questions that you can answer, and you can play it through as many different ways as you want. And aside from that, it just looks really pretty as well. The amount of times I spent just stopping to stare at Shadowheart's face were plentiful.
Okay, if Shadowheart wasn't there, who would be your next choice for? Because you've talked about your love for Shadowheart a lot, and I'm curious about if Shadowheart wasn't in your party, who would be next in line in your...
I don't know. I think I like Halcyon just because he's really up for it. He's like, hello, I've got very big arms. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Well, that's how it's going.
Yeah. Both Shadowheart and Halcyon are polyamorous as well, so it means that you don't have to choose if you pick one of them. Because I was like, I'm going to go and experience everything the game has to offer. So take that how you will. But yeah, it's that kind of game though, where you can be silly and it can be a bit risque. There's so many different options to it, and there is this gorgeous, really intense horror through line to it that takes it from fantasy to dark fantasy. So you've got this whole section in an undercity with Baal and the god of murder and the god of death and all this sort of thing, and you end up in a sanctum, and just that whole area was I was like the whole time, because it's so bloody and gory, and I'm grinning because I just think it's so well done, and this kind of mythology that runs through these games that I remember going there because there's a giant sign on the wall
It's like a skull with a bunch of little wriggly things around it. And I have the Descent to Avernus rulebook for Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, oh, it matches. It's like Descent to Avernus. And like the first trophy you get is Descent into Avernus when you crash through the Nautiloid and into the hells. And oh my God, there's just so much love in there and so much respect and so much magical energy that's been channeled through that. It's like reading a novel, it's like watching a film, it's like being so invested in these characters and what they can do, but also being able to control it. I just don't think I've played an RPG that has done all these things that I like so deftly, and that it's a turn-based combat game, and I love it so much. Feet into itself, because I really don't like turn-based combat normally, and this has totally changed my mind on it. So it's also opened my perspectives to new games as well, which is why I think it has to be my game of the year, because it's just something that I never thought I would get into quite as much as this one. But Baldur's Gate 3, my game of the year, just incredible.
I was just reading today that you can have a dog who comes around with you, and you can pet the dog, and the dog is your companion and gets happy.
How does it help?
Sorry?
What's its use?
I think it's psychological.
Oh.
You know, it's companionship.
I feel like that would worsen my play.
I did also look for I was like, and where's the cat? I couldn't see it.
You only need the dog.
I like the cat mod would just be like somewhere there's a cat. If it sees you, it moves away from you. Like, cat's not interested in you.
I feel like the wanton destruction of cats fits Teardown very well either way. Right, those are our picks for Game of the Year, and believe me when I say we could have spoken for hours about everything that's come out this year. I mean, we literally did, and had to cut it down to a reasonable video length. What's your Game of the Year? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to catch everything from the world of PlayStation, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.
PlayStation